my friend, and welcome back to this YouTube channel. Today, we are going to be talking about the relationship that an empath has with food and the most common, I would say, like symptoms that we see in the relation between food, the empath, and the body. Okay. The reason why I'm sharing everything is because it comes from my personal experience. I am both. I am an empath and I'm also highly sensitive. And I didn't realize how much the sensitivity um, has to this day a big impact on decision making and also mastering my own energy in my whole life. Again, this is something that is very, very profound for anyone who is highly sensitive or empathic. So let's get right into it, especially if you're struggling with your body and your food, and maybe you emotionally eat or you are coping with food in some sort of unhealthy ways, or you have an addictive patterns, or you control foods. Okay, so these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. But what I want you to know is this also: I am going to be publishing my health cookbook, which is beyond a health cookbook, in January of 2023. And I would love for you to be part of this project that I so much I've put so much energy into it. It's also a big project of mine in encompasses in gathering all of my experiences into one book so people can find healing. So I'm going to put the link to join the waitlist so that you can receive all of the informations, and make sure that you join right now. You can pause this video, or you can do that after the video. At the same time, a part of the profit that will be gathered with this project will go towards helping women that have been emotionally abused, physically, but also emotionally abused in my county, San Luis Obispo especially, but it can get bigger. So there is definitely an intention behind this book, which is healing and giving back to the community, because that was my experience as well. So it's dear to me when I hear abuse, and I want to help as much as I can. So be part of this project. Thank you, and let's get into the video for you to learn. Okay, so let's go back a little bit to the fact that you are really, really sensitive, and this sensitivity is an innate trait. You cannot change that, yet most people numb it. How you numb it is by drinking, using medication, using some sort of medicine, whether you want to call weed medicine or alcohol or whatever, drugs even, to numb the overwhelming feelings that we feel every day. And even if it's quiet, we kind of feel the world. So we can't really escape that sensitivity, and numbing it is not the solution to the problem. Now, what does the sensitivity has to do with your relationship with food? Most people in the Western culture tend to separate what happens with the body from what's happening with the emotional body, which are your emotions, okay, to what's happening in the spiritual or energetic body. So to make it more tangible for you, most people in the Western society separate what happens in the physical form, like a health issue. Hey, you're having an acne, to constipation. to what's happening in the mental health, to what's happening in the energetic body, which most people don't even look at the energetic body, but I certainly do. And we tend to treat the eating disorder, the unhealthy relationship with food mechanism, with some sort of band-aid called diets. Now, if you've tried more than 5 diets, you know that they don't not work. Actually, they have a rebound effect of putting you in such an extreme environment that all you want to do is to rebel. And how you rebel is you end up eating all of the calories that you have restricted, and your body will store it even more. Okay? Now, there are 2 paths that the empaths may take. I definitely went into both. Some people go into both. Some people have one predominant, more predominant than another. I work with the different patterns, and it really helps. That's actually from a client's perspective. When the coach that you choose or the dietitian you choose has gone through a similar experience, because he or she can relate to your experience. And this is my opinion. My suggestion to you: do not choose someone who has not gone through or who cannot understand what you really are feeling, because I have had that. In my teenager years, I was sent to a dietitian that couldn't understand me emotionally. So I felt more minimized in my sensitivity than ever before. And that spiraled into years of controlling my food intake. Okay, so these are the 2 patterns. One, the empath will try to control the food. So the empath will stick to a diet that is very strict. For example, lower to equal of 1,200 calories per day. All right. And you do that for like what? Few months, a year, 2 years. I lasted 2 years, very strict 2 years, and then I lost that S. I lost it. And the other path is emotionally eating. Now, the first one is more controlling, and I still see people that do that at 40 and 50. Believe me, like they go into body dysmorphia, being very extreme, not finding their balance, actually being too healthy, and being like afraid of food and gaining weight and overly exercising for the sake of not gaining a pound. Okay, that's one route. The other one is emotionally eating, so coping with food and your emotions. And so you're not able to distinguish between what's your emotion and what's your food. And whenever you're having an emotional response, you tend to eat or drink a glass of wine or more, or a bottle of wine, because you're not able to handle it, and the food gives you that sense of gratification that lasts usually for about 5 minutes, and then you feel like crap, and then you do that again because you cannot break that pattern, because you're not looking at the root cause, which is your emotional response. Okay, both of them are extremes, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. Okay, they both have pros and cons. And then I see people that go from, they started with the body dysmorphia and the restricting and dieting, they go into emotionally eating, and then they try to go back over here because they feel out of control. So let me tell you this. Controlling the food is, for an empath, because the empath is always overwhelmed with different emotions. If the empath doesn't master his or her own energy, and that's a skill set that you need to master your energy, getting to know who you are, your body type, and then understanding how to protect your own energy and what's yours and what's theirs. Like theirs in terms of like what are other people's emotions and how can I separate myself from them so that I don't eat the emotion trying to cope with this overwhelming feeling. And whenever the empath feels overwhelmed, that I'm turning into the food because it kind of like silence the noise for a bit. Then it starts all over again, and that's why we continue to eat and the pounds continue to grow instead of learning the skill set that we need in order to stop this pattern. Okay. Now, again, when the empath feels out of control, that's what the empath does. They try to go back into after emotionally eating, but they feel so guilty. And so they go back into trying to control the only thing they can control. Okay, so it's kind of like putting another band-aid on trying to control the food intake, doing the diet mentality is somewhat a mechanism of defense, a band-aid mechanism, because you feel somewhat empowered for a short amount of time that you are controlling the food that you are intaking that day. Now, that does not last for a long period of time because you're not gaining any new skill set. You're just doing what you used to do, but you know that that's toxic, but you don't know what other solutions are available for you to turn to. Okay. Controlling the food is never the answer. It's bypassing your work. It's kind of like it's a form of punishment. And that's what we see. What happens in the empath's childhood history. There has been some kind of form of punishment and making you feel guilty because you did that, and someone controlling that person or withdrawing love, some sort of unhealthy like relationship between the caregiver and the child that impacted the child to then turn into the only thing that she or he can control in this lifetime, which is the body and the food and what we drink. That's the only power we have. That's what we tell ourselves. Now, if you stay in this mindset, this is also very a victimhood mindset because you don't believe that there is another source of power. You don't believe that you can break this cycle. And I want you to know this, like, first of all, just move on from this mindset because you can heal. And I've healed my mind, body, and soul. That's what I teach women to do and men also. But there is a way out. So don't ever doubt for a second that there isn't. Now, the path for an emotional eater, empathic emotional eater, is to distinguish what's physical hunger versus what's emotional hunger. Okay? The physical hunger, okay, we've got to adjust the physical body. I always say this. We've got to adjust your gut. We've got to heal your gut. We've got to make sure that your cravings are back to balance, which means you don't keep craving the fries and the sugar, but you crave something that is healthy and nourishing for your body type. Okay. Yes, we've got to look at the physical, but after that, we also have to turn into the emotional. So understanding that everything around you is affecting you more than it's affecting someone who is not highly sensitive or empathic. So you cannot compare yourself to others, to the majority of the population who doesn't understand your sensitivity, okay? Just don't do that. That's energy that you're wasting right now. And don't try to talk to the people who don't understand you. For example, whenever I talk to one of my brother who is not highly sensitive or empathic, like we have a great relationship, but I cannot have deep discussions about an empath with my oldest brother, because he doesn't understand the sensitivity. But the other brother that I have, he's just like me, empathic, highly sensitive, we have deep conversation about how our sensitivity plays a vital role in the environment and how the environment affects us. So make sure that you also don't waste your energy trying to talk to a dietitian, a medical professional, your mom, your dad, that who doesn't see the world through your eyes. There is a community, the Empath Collective, if you haven't checked that out, that is filled with women who are feeling the same. So don't think for a second that you're alone. You can break this. Okay, let's take a look at what are some of the tips that may help you today. Now, pick a lane, which means understand who you are. Are you someone who keeps controlling the food and the body and overly exercises? Or are you someone who emotionally eats? Okay, where are you? A or B? You can also drop that in the comments now that you understood who you are. For A, so the person who is over controlling, I want you to know this, and this is your work from now on. Okay? You need to start taking your power back by not letting the pressure of others, like other people's judgment, other people's decision making. Like maybe you have some controlling parents, maybe you have something or someone around you that it's pressuring you into being someone who maybe is not your authentic self. So releasing the pressure and understanding that you can be who you are meant to be, and letting go of the need to have external validation in order to fit a certain standard, society standard, letting go of that guilt and the shame that comes with it. In order for you to fully owning in who you are, you have a specific body, you have a beautiful mind body constitution with all your physical, emotional, spiritual attributes. And I want you to own in on who you are. Really practicing that self-love and releasing the pressure. Okay. And also stop controlling the food. Like just let go and try to in tuning to what is that you really want to eat or drink without following a specific diet plan. Now, for the people who are falling into the category of B, which is the emotional eater, I want you to do this. Every day, you're going to take time to separate your energy, and literally you go into a meditation and that can last 5 to 10 minutes, and you separate your energy from the world. Like you're really sitting in silence, not music, no distractions, no visualization, no guided meditation. You sit in silence and you start to tuning into how you feel physically, emotionally, and with yourself. Energetically, how's your energy? Okay. Then you're going to start protecting your own energy by surrounding yourself with a beautiful bubble and asking this bubble to protect your energy. So only the energy from the higher self, the higher love can come in. Okay. And then you make sure that anytime you're turning to food, you ask, is that a physical or emotional reaction? And if it is an emotional reaction, I want you to ask, what is this about? What is that I really need? And you start from there and see what happens. This process may take you days, weeks, or months. But I promise you that if you do all of these steps, then you're going to get to a better place with yourself. Now, I hope that this was helpful. And let me know in the comments if it was and what kind of like the category or like the stage that you're in right now. There's actually no shaming. I always practice self-love wherever you are. Then that's the lesson you need to learn, and then let's move forward. And don't forget to join the book waitlist and also the Empaths Collective to receive support and healing every month. And I'll see you in the next video.